Okay, I think we're gonna get started. Um, Welcome everyone to the launch event of Eskwai 4.0. Um, yeah, so today the plan is to um, do a live demo of the new features that we are launching in the first half and the first part of the hour, and then we'll leave Q&A for the second part, second half of the launch event. So to start off, so my name is Jojo. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Kwame AI, which is the AI startup that has built Eskwai, our trustworthy AI legal assistant. And I'm here with Victor, my co-founder. Victor. You're muted. You should be able to unmute.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. Nice to have you all on here to join us for this launch event. So I'm Victor, co-founder and CEO of Kwame AI, and we're excited to have you join us for the launch of our new features today.
Okay, great. So to start off, I'll give a high-level overview of the new features, and then I'll hand over to Victor to do a live demo of each of those. So today, some of them are pretty simple, others are more complex. So the first, export AI answer. So we've included a feature that makes it easy to export and save the answer that you get from our Ask Kwame feature. So to make it quite easy to use and modify the answers. Download case and legislation. So this is one of the most requested feature that we've had in the past months. So with this feature, you can easily download the cases and legislation on Eskwai and print it out. High intelligence mode. So we've updated our Ask Kwame feature to have this mode where you can get more accurate answers using advanced AI models. But that also takes a bit longer, so you'd see how that works here. Ask case and legislation. So now we've made it possible for you to ask specific questions of cases and legislation as you're reading them. So makes it really easy to get quick insights as you're going through a case or legislation. And the two really advanced features that we have. So legislation amendment indicator. So now on Eskwai, you'll be able to see the amendment status of a legislation. So whether or not it's active, repealed, or amended. And this will help you know whether or not you can rely on that legislation. And finally, Smart Citator, which is our AI-powered citation index. So now when you go to a case, you'll be able to see what other cases have cited the case and the kind of judicial treatment that has been applied, whether or not it's negative. So for example, whether it's been overruled, reversed, whether or not it's been applied or neutral. All right, so there's a quick summary and overview of the new features. I'll hand over to Victor now to do a live demo of each of these.
All right. Thanks, George. So let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, like George said, these are 6 new features that we have available. I'm gonna some of the features you would sort of encounter as you do regular Ask Kwame queries. So I'll just start off with that, and then whenever that comes up, I'll just highlight to you how different that is. So I'm gonna start off with our placeholder query. On Ask Kwame, what is the parity of interest between judgment creditors and secured creditors? So you can So yeah, just as previously, you can come to our research page, you type in this query, and you would have an answer generated for you. Now, you notice this new button here, which shows intelligence mode. So right now, I'm currently on the higher intelligence mode right now, and you may have noticed we've also changed the animation that waits, that shows whilst you're waiting. But basically, you get this answer now, and this answer is coming from our higher intelligence mode. So like George said, this is using more advanced AI models that gives you a more accurate answer, but then you would have to wait a bit longer because it takes a longer to process. So this is currently the answer you're getting from the intelligence mode. I'll just leave it on for a bit and then switch to the standard intelligence, which is what we currently have on available to all users. So this is what you have with the high intelligence. And you can also regenerate a more detailed answer if that's what you want. So this is a button that we've already had in the past, the ability to regenerate more detailed. So I'm going to regenerate a more detailed answer using the higher intelligence mode for this same query. And then when I'm done, I will switch to the standard intelligence so you can have a sense of what difference comes up. So like we said, it takes longer for the higher intelligence because of the more advanced AI model, but then it pays off in terms of the detail and also the quality of the answers that you get. Yeah, so you see what you have in this time with the higher intelligence mode. So I'm gonna switch now to the standard intelligence so you can kind of see what happens with that. Yeah, so even just like a casual glance, you realize that the answer from the higher intelligence was more detailed, and even in terms of how it was structured, it was a bit easier to follow. I mean, we have to move a bit fast. When we get to the Q&As, we can go more slowly, but then you have a more detailed response, and then the reasoning is much more clearer in the advanced, in the higher intelligence mode. Now, I'm going to use this example to demonstrate another feature which we have brought in, which is the ask case and ask legislation feature. So as previously, we always provide these inline citations so you can check where the source is for the claims that are made in the answer. So I'm going to open this legislation, the Borrowers and Lenders Act, which was referenced in providing the answer for the for this query. And just a minute, I clicked go back. Let me just use my history so I don't have to make the query all over again. So the Borrowers and Lenders Act, I want to open up that legislation. And now this is where one of our new features is available. So we noticed that we actually built in a new feature which most users haven't been using, but we actually have this sidebar menu, sidebar icon. You can click it to toggle this side menu to open and close if you need more space. So I'm going to use that now so that we can have more clear view of everything. So this is the Borrowers and Lenders Act. This is the portion of the Borrowers and Lenders Act that was used in providing that previous answer. Now, on the right side, we have this yellow icon, which you can click to open up the side menu. And in this side menu, you have access to what we call ask case. So ask case is basically giving you the functionality of Ask Kwame, but specifically for the legislation or case that you are currently viewing. And we know from feedback that there are times that you would want to dive a bit more deeply into a particular case or legislation. And so this gives you the ability to ask questions with reference to this particular legislation. So I came here because I asked a query about the parity of interest between judgment creditors and secured creditors. And now I have some more questions about this legislation. So I'm going to ask, what does this act say about judgment creditors and secured creditors? So I want to dive a bit more deeply into this particular case, this particular legislation, sorry. So you can type in your question here, and this time around, the answer you're going to get is restricted to just this particular legislation that you are viewing. So you see the side menu here, the same thinking process is going on, and you would have the answer displayed in this right in the side panel. Okay, so we have our answer here. Right, so it's talking specifically about this Borrowers and Lenders Act, which is what I currently have open, and it talks about how this Borrowers and Lenders Act addresses the priorities of judgment creditors and secured creditors. It's now referencing specific sections in the Borrowers and Lenders Act because we are using this particular legislation as the source of truth, right? So you realize you have much more detail over here compared to the answer you'd have gotten from the general Ask Kwame, because this time around you are asking in-depth answers on this specific legislation, right? And so this is one of the new features that we have, this Ask legislation, where you can ask questions about this specific legislation. So in summary, this act provides that judgment creditors have priority over secured creditors if the security interest is not effective. And we have the inline citations again, but these are inline citations to just specific portions of the legislation, right? I'm going to ask another question about this legislation. So let's say, does this act affect any other legislation? So I just want to know, okay, this is the Borrowers and Lenders Act. Does this act affect any other legislation? And we have an answer being generated for us. Right, so again, it's similar functionality as what we have on Ask Kwame, but this is just restricting the answers to the specific legislation that you currently have open. So this allows you to dive more deeply than what you get on the general Ask Kwame page. So you see here now, it's saying that Section 8 states that in case of conflict between this act and any other enactment regarding security interests, the provisions of this act shall supersede, right? And it also says that the security interest registered under this act shall have priority over any other security interest. So it's answering your answer in much more detail than you'd have gotten if you had asked on the general Ask Kwame, right? It's citing the specific sections of this act and how it's affecting other acts, other legislation, right? So this is an example of what you can do with Ask legislation, which you currently can't do with Ask Kwame. I'm going to go back to my history page and open up one of the cases that was cited. So I'm opening the First Atlantic Bank case. All right, so it's saying that so this is a case that was cited in providing the answer about the security of interest, the parity of interest between secured creditors and judgment creditors. And now I'm going to open the side menu again. So this is similar to what you have on the legislation. It's the same functionality, but yeah, again, restricted to this specific case. So I'm just going to use one of the sample queries here. What legal reasoning and precedents did the court use to reach its final decision? So you can ask a question like that, and you would have an answer generated for you. Okay, so what was the reasoning that the court used to reach its holding, and then it gives you this detailed response. Yeah, again, you have access to these inline citations to view the specific portions of this ruling, right? So basically, as case, as legislation, I like to dive much more deeply into cases and legislation. And this is useful when you're doing like your research. So currently, that's one of our new features. And I'm going to go next to the download cases and legislation. So let me use a different case and a different legislation just to, right. So this is one of the features that users ask a lot for, the ability to download cases and legislation. So we've made this available here. There's this button on every case, and when you click on it, it opens up the case as a PDF that you can save to your computer, right? So yeah, you can download cases and legislation from Eskwai now. You can also so that's a case. You can also download the PDF of legislation. So this is also available for you to download. And so this was the first one, which was the case. Let me save this as legislation. And I'll open it from my desktop so you can see. Right, so the downloaded files are here on my desktop, and you can open them to see. So this is the case that I downloaded, and this is the legislation that I downloaded. Right, so now we have provided the ability for you to download cases and legislation for you to use if you need to have copies yourself. Right, and back to the query page as well. It's a new feature that we have here. So there's this new button, export as a doc. So this allows you to export the answer that was generated as a document that you can use for your downstream work. So when you click this button, it would export a Word document. And when you open this Word document, it basically contains your question and the answer that was generated. So this is the Word document. This is the question that I asked. This is the answer that was generated, and all the references that were cited in the answer are also down here in the reference list, right? So this is to make downstream work much easier. So we know users are usually copying the answers, but you may want to edit this and use this in preparing a submission or use this to prepare a report. So you can just immediately do your editing directly over here. And you also have the references nicely cited here, which you can work with, right? So this is another feature that we've designed to make work with Eskwai much easier and more productive, right? And the last two features which I want to highlight before we go into the Q&As is the amendment indicator and the smart citator, right? So we know that the law is constantly changing, and so you need to know that you are relying on good law. And these are two new features that we've designed to aid with that. Right, so the smart citator, let me load an example case. The smart citator tells you how a case that you are viewing has been treated by more recent court decisions and how the court viewed the principles from that particular case. So I'm gonna open one case just to illustrate how the smart citator looks like. So this is Bani versus Mas Ghana Limited, a 2011 Supreme Court decision, right? Now, when you open it, you have this new panel that has smart citator written here, right? And so you have these numbers: negative, caution, neutral, and positive. So these are highlighting the kinds of treatments that our system has identified for this particular case. So it means there are 3 cases where the courts viewed some principles from this case negatively, there's one case where there was a caution. I'll explain what caution, negative, and neutral mean in a bit. There's one case that is a neutral treatment, and that's 11 where it's positive, right? So you click on show details, and that opens up this modal, and in this modal, the details are shown. So when you click on a particular treatment, all of the cases which cite Felix, Barney versus Maersk, Ghana, and are treated it positively are listed down here, right? So these are all the 11 cases, and you can see here, the green is highlighting the positive, and you have this keyword which tells you how Barney versus Maersk was viewed in this case. So using the Alote versus ECG case, a 2023 Supreme Court decision basically means that Barney versus Maersk was applied in this decision, right? And you can click show passage and reasoning to view the passage and the reasoning. So this is here, it says, so this is an actual passage from the Alote versus ECG case, and it's showing here, so in natural justice, it has been pointed out by the Supreme Court in cases such as Barney versus Maersk. So in the Alote versus ECG case, the Supreme Court actually cited Barney versus Maersk, and it cited it to support its discussion, right? So this allows you to know, okay, Barney versus Maersk has been applied in another decision. You have another one here, 2017 Court of Appeal. You can click to show the passage and reasoning, and you see here that that Barney versus Maersk is employed to underline the legal remedy for wrongful termination, and its principle is applied, right? So same thing here, it's been applied, right? On and on and on. So this allows you to track the history of the case that you are looking at, and you can actually see that this case has been cited positively in a lot of cases, right? And you can use this to strengthen your argument. Now let's see the neutral option. So neutral is basically situations where the legal precedent is just cited, and it's just cited. So it's just obiter without any application to the reasoning in the decision. So there was just one case here where it was just cited, and it wasn't really used to influence the decision of the court. So that's just one neutral citation. And then we have caution. So caution comes in two flavors. It's either, so we flag a precedent with the caution flag when the principle has either been modified or it's been distinguished in a subsequent decision. So we have one case where Barney versus Maersk was distinguished in, and you can click here to see the explanation. And this is the passage, right, from the case, and it's also giving you the reasoning. Like the Supreme Court distinguishes the principles of Barney versus Maersk from the present case, right, and it rejected it. So as a lawyer, having this is valuable because you would want to dig into how the court has distinguished the principles from Barney versus Maersk, and then that will help you when you're crafting your argument, so that you can know that you can craft an argument that applies to your case, right? So you want to tell if the argument that you're crafting is going to hold, and this allows you to do this, right? And then finally, for the negative treatment. So negative treatment is basically where the present court is either completely overruling a principle or is disapproving of a principle. Right, so we have three examples here. I'm going to open the first one. So so this is a passage from a 2017 Supreme Court decision where the court said here that the case of Barney versus Maersk was decided per incuriam, right? So that's something that you would want to have in mind when you're relying on Barney versus Maersk, right? And the reason is given here. So the court found that the decision in Barney versus Maersk was per incuriam and fundamentally flawed for not considering relevant constitutional provisions, thereby rejecting this principle, right? So this allows you to have a wholesome view of how a case that you want to rely on has been treated. And this would help you to make sure that you're relying on the good law. Right? This is Just one example. Currently, we have the smart site data with the judicial treatment for about 40% of the cases in our database. We are still updating it, but whenever you open a case and you see this smart site data bar, you can tell that we have already curated and analyzed the judicial treatment for that particular case. I'm going to open just one more, and then I'll switch over to show the amendment indicator. Right, so I'm going to open another case. I mean, Ria Koto and 7 others. So that's a popular case. Right, so yeah, so similarly, we have the smart site data here. You can click to show details and it opens up. So we have all of them. There's one case where Ria Koto was disapproved of, and let's see the passage, right? So this is just the passage. It says that the court has moved away from the doctrinal approach adopted years ago in the case of Ria Koto, right? So the court is this is something that you'd want to have in mind if you want to rely on Ria Koto. There's also one caution treatment here where Ria Koto was not followed, right? And so you can see the passage. However, I'm nowhere advocating a return to the nadir reached by the Supreme Court in Ria Koto, right? So this is saying that the court decided not to return to the principles followed in Ria Koto, and there's two other cases where the Ria Koto was just cited and it wasn't really applied, or it didn't influence the decision, right? So this is just another example, right? So this is a really useful feature. We know that citators are available for foreign jurisdictions like the Shepherd's Index, but this is the first that is available for Ghanaian case law, and we are still expanding on it. And then finally, the amendment indicator. So similarly, you want to know whether a legislation that you are viewing is still good law, right? So we have also built the amendment indicator, which alerts you as to whether a particular legislation is still has been repealed or amended, right? So whenever you open a legislation, you will see this bar here, see amendment information. And when you click on it, it gives you the information. So this particular legislation has been repealed, and it's been repealed by the Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Act in 2016, right? So this alerts you that, okay, you can't rely on this. This act has been repealed. Let me open another one at the Bank of Ghana Act. Right, so we know the Bank of Ghana Act has been amended, and when you open it, you would see that we capture that information, and we also tell you, we don't just tell you it's been amended, we tell you which legislation is actually amending it. So like the Bank of Ghana Act has been amended by the 2016 one, and you can click right from there to open the legislation that amends it, right? So this allows you to track changes to the law. Currently, we don't provide the consolidated legislation, but that's something that we are currently working on. So, and in a couple of weeks, you would also be able to view the consolidated legislation where all of the amendments have been combined to make it easy to follow. All right, so it took more than the 30 minutes. Yeah, so these are the features that we built, and we'll be going live next week. All right, thanks. I guess we would have Q&As now if anyone has questions about the new features.
Okay, Victor, thanks. Maybe before we go to that, so we'll be launching the features on Monday, and with that would also come price changes. But if you do get the the current prices. If you get a subscription with the annual prices right now, you'd be able to lock in the current prices and still get these new features. So the prices are going to be almost double. So if you do get the annual before Monday, you'll be able to get all these new features at the current price. Yeah, so that's just another thing to note. All right, so I think we can go to the Q&A part. We've showed a lot of new features, so we'll just hand over to you if you have any questions. Please raise up your hand with the icon, and then I will ask you to unmute so that you can ask your question, or you can also put it in the chat. Hi, Bonsa. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Hi, Jojo. Good afternoon. This is this is very, very good. This is very, very good. But I know my people have already had a few queries about. So is it possible, at least with the pricing, is it possible that those who feel they wouldn't need all of these would, is there a subscription plan that would allow them to subscribe without accessing these extra features? Or is it across board, whether they like it or not, they need to pay the new price, and then um maybe they don't even have a need for a smart site data or something of the sort. Some people just want to maybe to just be able to download the case or download the PDF or something of the sort without necessarily having an AI tell them how the case have been judicially treated or whether or not the statute has been amended. Is it possible the pricing would factor in those who want the extra features and those who do not want the extra features?
We have some categorization like that, but not in the way that maybe let me just show the pricing. It's not exactly like yeah, you're suggesting, but let me just I guess it's just easier to show what the new pricing is gonna be in the options. Um yeah, okay.
But the newer features are on the Pro plan, so I
So
guess that
yeah,
kind of
we
addresses
have
that.
well okay, maybe let me show the previous. I mean, these are the current prices. 180, 52, and 30. So I think someone was asking what are the prices also for students. So I guess you can see this is what it is right now, which will change on Monday. So the new prices with the new features. So we still have the students. Oh, let me show the annual one. Yeah. So we have the students, the standard, and the pro. So once try to answer you, for the standard plan, we don't have a lot of the features here. So if someone doesn't want a lot of these new features that we've advertised, I mean, they can get the standard plan. And then for those that want everything, can get the pro plan. But I think you're asking about some kind of mix for specific things. We don't have that level of granularity. This is how we've kind of um like arranged them right now.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it's not as granular as you may want, but most of the new features are all on Pro. So basically, any people want to have the same experience that they currently have could just stay on the standard plan. We've actually added on the ask case and ask legislation on the standard plan, so that's kind of an extra on the standard. But aside from that, all of the other new features are on the Pro plan.
Yeah, Bonsa, you can go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I'm asking because from the few people I've spoken with, it seems like I don't know if the pro would have the, let's say, the AI case briefing and the facts, the principles. There are a number of students on the webinar right now, and for those students, their key focus is having the AI brief the case for them, and maybe the opportunity to use Ask Kwame and all of those things, because they wouldn't really want. So I don't know if the standard would have the AI case briefing, or they need to upgrade to the pro or something of that sort. I kind of I'm looking at something like maybe if there was an in between. So maybe there's a standard. Okay, well, there's a student. Obviously, there's the standard. There's the pro. Then maybe there's a premium where you access everything for like very very niche legal researchers. But then those who don't feel the need to use certain features can just do the pro instead of the premium or something of that sort. um I don't know, but okay. I can we ask questions? I think I'm asking this generally. Do the questions have to be in relation to the new features only, or somebody is joining on the webinar for the first time and is just being introduced to Esquire the first time? Can they ask any question at all?
Yeah, so they can ask any question about Esquire,
Okay.
new features, yeah. But just to quickly respond to what you said, yeah, so on the student plan, they actually have the case brief and then ask case and ask legislation. So they do have that. Students have that.
Okay, perfect, perfect,
Yeah, the
perfect.
standard plan also has that. So briefs and ask case and legislation. So yeah. So the pro plan has all these new fancy features and the standard plan
Okay,
doesn't. So
okay, okay. That's fine. That's fine. Thank you. Thank you.
if you have a question, you can just raise your
Can
hand.
we show the flyer with the new features, the one we
Yeah,
sent out,
yes.
so that at least those who joined midway can still see? Yeah,
Yes.
perfect,
So yeah,
perfect,
so for
perfect.
those that joined late, so these are the new features that we went through. And maybe I did a summary at the start, so maybe it will be good to do that again. So export AI answer, so you can export the answer that you get from Ask Kwame, so that you can edit it. And you also see the reference and the inline citations. Download case and legislation, that's like one of the most requested feature that we had. So we've added that. I think a lot of people miss the high intelligence mode. So now you can get more accurate answers on Ask Kwame that uses advanced reasoning models, but takes a bit longer. So that's available to people on the Pro plan. Ask case on legislation. So that's what Victor showed. You can ask specific cases about legislation or cases as you're reading them to get more specific answers. And then the last bit where the smart citator and the amendment indicator that I think most people got. All right. Kirsten, you can go ahead.
Hi, hello. Hi, Jojo. Hi, Victor, and hi, Mr. Winston. Good afternoon. My question is in relation to the ask legislation and then the ask case feature. Is there a way the student plan could that also capture those features, or so far in rolling out, we are only going to get it on the pro plan?
Yes, students have the ask case and ask legislation as part of the student plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, great. And there's a question in the chat about the high intelligence mode. Victor, maybe you can do a quick demo about it, I think, because most people miss that. So if you can do a quick demo about the high intelligence mode, I think that might be useful. So yeah, the high intelligence mode really shines for complex queries. If it's a simple query, you might not see the difference that much, but for very complex queries, I think that's where you get to see it. But anyway, Victor, you can go ahead. Yeah, me there.
Yeah, like sorry. So yeah, like John said, I mean, it's higher intelligence. So you really see the benefit when you try more complex queries. I'm gonna use the example of like a scenario here. I mean, I guess we could also try maybe learning. You can give an example query that you would like us to try on the higher intelligence. Maybe that would also be helpful. But I'm going to use this for the first demonstration. So this is the answer that you have with the current standard intelligence for this scenario where it's not super complicated, but then this is the response that you have on the standard intelligence. I just hold off for like 1 minute and then I switch to the higher intelligence so you can see the difference. But you could also share learning. You could share an example query that you'd like to try, and then I can do that with the standard and high intelligence. So that
It's not learning.
I,
It's a different Nicholas.
say again.
It's not learning.
It's not learning. Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, no, this is Nicholas. Yeah, Nicholas from.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
can put a query in the chat. We can try that.
Say again.
I was saying that if we can put a query in the chat, we can try that.
Yeah. Sorry, I mistake you for someone else. Yeah, Nicholas, you can share a query. So I'm switching to higher intelligence and rerunning the same query, so you can see the difference. So one big thing is that it takes a bit longer to get the answer because of the models that we use. Yeah. So this is the response that you have with the higher intelligence. Like George said, it shines when you have like complex and nuanced situations that you want to have like a detailed response or like nuances in a scenario. It shines in those lights. But this is what you have with the higher intelligence for this as an example. But if you have a query you'd like us to try to, I can run a demo for you.
Yeah, the key thing you'd notice is that it's very like straight to the point and precise and like, yeah, highlights the key points. All right. Yeah, so we can take more questions. Yeah, so you can either put your question in the chat or raise your hand and then I'll ask you to unmute and then you can ask. So it could be about the new features, it could be about Eskwai in general. Yeah. I guess as we are waiting for more questions, this would be a good point to highlight. We do have plans for firms, which is a bit cheaper than the individual plan. So if you're interested, you can reach out to us and would set it up, set a demo for you and your the members of your firm. With that, everyone in the firm has their own account with which they can use Esquire. And we're also working on various collaboration features that would also help enhance collaboration within the firm or legal department. Yeah. Okay, I don't see any hands. Any questions?
Or I guess aside from questions, well, we usually get feature requests, but I mean, of course, if there's a feature that you think would be helpful, that's is currently not available, you could also, I guess, mention that. We're always open to feedback on new features that would make legal research and work more easy. Like, Kirsten's hand is up.
Yeah, great. Kirsten, you can go ahead.
Okay, right. So this is like a future request. Yes, if that will be done. I know it is not beyond you. So um, what I am suggesting is that if there could be probably in the near future specific folders that would encompass the courses that law students offer with cases and then relevant legislation attached to that courses folder. Um, yeah, so generally, this is something I think would be helpful. Yes.
Okay, so the folders that have basically, I mean, most of the cases we do have, so, but you mean organized according to the courses, so you can like click the
Exactly.
course and
Exactly.
see, okay, you don't have to look around, it's already gathered
Yes.
together for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, I guess this, I mean, this is specific to each university, right?
Okay. Right.
I guess I mean, yeah, the easiest way to do this would be to have partnerships with the university so that, I mean, lecturers can already curate on maybe on Eskwai because we have the cases and legislation, so they can just create the folders and then it'll be available to their students. I think that would be one way to accomplish that. Partnerships with universities. Yeah. Okay. That's a good suggestion. Thanks.
Let me let you share the features in case somebody wants to refresh it.
Okay. There's a question. Is accessing Eskwai on the web? No, okay, let me go to the previous. Would it be able to access some information offline like case briefs? Well, currently there's no way to access any part of it offline except if you download the case legislation or you export your answer. Right now, we don't have, yeah, we don't make it possible to download the case briefs. Yeah. But the cases legislation and then the answer, you can download them offline.
Maybe can you clarify what you mean by offline? Do you mean that like downloading and keeping a copy, or you can use the app, but the app wouldn't use your internet, right? Because like George said, you, like at least with a download case feature, you can download the cases. So do you mean access the contents without like an internet connection? Maybe you can clarify. Well, I'm not sure which one is the yes to. I mean, you can't access it without an internet connection. Oh, okay, no, that is impossible. No.
Okay. So there's another question. Is on the web being better than on an app? Do you have plans? Oh, okay. So I guess it's also in line, files offline. Well, we currently don't have plans to build a separate, like I guess mobile app. Why? Because I mean, most of the functionality works pretty well. Like the mobile version works pretty well because we put a lot of effort to make sure that the mobile experience is really good. So we don't really need to build a separate app. I guess the only difference would be the offline capability, which even with a separate app, I mean, most of the features you still have to be online to access. So it doesn't make much of a difference, to be honest.
But maybe could you explain why? Like, well, maybe I guess we are assuming that everybody has internet everywhere, but like, can you explain why like you would want to have you'd want to have the content without being connected to the internet?
Maybe if you raise up your hand, I can unmute you, and then maybe you can explain.
maybe that would help us to appreciate the challenge, and we could find something that may address it, which may not necessarily be offline access.
Yeah, Nicholas, I think you can unmute if you want to explain.
Hello, sorry, I lost connection, so I could not really get what you said about it, about the assessing it on a web being better than the app. I think I hesitated and I have to come back.
Yeah, so we only have a web app right now, and we don't have a mobile app. Yeah, but Victor was saying that maybe you could elaborate on why you, the reasons why you're asking for offline access, so that we can better understand the challenge. Because most of our features right now can only be accessed with the internet, like Eskwai.
Yeah, so sometimes maybe on the go, you maybe even be in the courtroom or something, you make some quick references. So where probably you don't have access to internet, whether what some files you have or some files you've accessed previously on your device can be accessed there and then on your feet. That was the reason why I was asking about that. But I think with the feature to export some of the document, I think it will help to find my way around this situation. I think that's fine for now.
Okay. Is it like it's not allowed to have internet access in the court? I'm just trying to, because even if you were on your phone and you had internet access, you would be able to, or is it like, I'm trying to understand, is it that you wouldn't have internet in that instance, or you feel like if you had bookmarked or saved it somewhere, you just want to go there rather than re-asking the question? Because we also have a history.
Yes.
We
So
also have a history, by the way.
so your second part explains that. So sometimes it may be due to even bad internet connectivity, and you need something that you have accessed previously to just guide you on something, and if you have not saved it to be able to access it there and then, it becomes a little problematic.
Okay, so are you familiar with the history feature?
Hello?
Yeah, are you aware of the history?
Yeah, sorry, I lost you.
I was asking if you're aware of our
I'm aware of
history.
that one. Yes. Is it
Okay,
able to pull out without internet connectivity?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask. So if you had access to the history and you could use the history without internet, would that have addressed your question?
Exactly.
Okay, so
Exactly.
so all right. Okay, I kind of understand where it's headed. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I guess we would think about and see what kind of solutions we can come up with.
Okay, great. Are there other questions or suggestions for features to work on? I guess on that point, maybe just also other features that we are working on beyond legal research are for drafting. So for example, being able to draft legal memos, briefs, contracts, that takes into consideration Ghanaian cases and legislation. So pulling up from legislation and cases to do drafts that create drafts that are relevant to the Ghanaian context. So that's one thing we're working on. And also document review. So being able to whether it's review contracts or documents, ask questions based on that, pull out relevant insights. So those are features that we are also working on. Are there other questions or feature suggestions that anyone has?
But yeah, I mean, if you still have any more questions or like ideas that come up, you can always just send us an email, support@kwame.ai. You can always like reach out to us via that email, and we're always happy for suggestions, questions on ways to improve.
Okay, great. If there aren't any more questions or feedback suggestions, I think we can end here. Thanks everyone for joining. We will send out the recording. So in case you miss parts of it and you want to rewatch or you want to catch up on parts of the demo. All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you for coming.